Hi, my name is Nikhil, and today in this video we are gonna see the inventory forecasting application from TechFinna. So in my screen, what you see is the first screen of the inventory forecasting application where you get to choose the marketplace. Now, marketplace is nothing but the companies that have been set in your Odoo. Let's say in your Odoo, if you have two companies, Guitar Center and TechFinna, then these are the two entities you're going to see in this screen in the marketplaces. Now, for every company, you can do the inventory forecasting independently. And let's say I want to choose TechFinna today. So I'm choosing TechFinna. And the first screen after choosing the company is this one where we set the buffer and the seasonality. Now the buffer is at the company level. Like here you can see buffer for the month of January is set to 1.6. For month of Feb it's set to 1.7, which means for January I want to keep a 60% buffer for every stock, right? And for February 70%. And for every product category which are listed here, all the product categories are pulled directly from your Odoo, whatever product categories you have for this company. And for each of the product category, you can set the seasonality. Let's say that you know that, okay, the acoustic guitars happen to sell more in the month of January, maybe two times or, like two times more than the average sale. You could set the seasonality as 2, or you could even set to 1.5, up to you, however you want to set the seasonality. And you click on update. So let's say you have set the seasonality for all the product categories and the buffer for all the months here. Then you want to select a vendor from the drop down here. Why? Because the goal of this application is to be able to do inventory forecasting, and at the same time the end goal is to create an RFQ. So when we create an RFQ is for a particular vendor. So let's say I want to create an RFQ for the vendor 10 for the month of, let's say, March, right? I want to see like how my inventory is going to play out for Jan, Feb, and March, and if I need to order something, beforehand, so that I don't run out of stock. So we are gonna select the vendor as vendor 10, light V2 vendor 10, and the forecast month we are selecting is March. Now let's update this and move on to the next screen. So in the next screen, which is this one, which is the main screen, this is where we see the entire list of all the products belonging to the vendor 10. And here, as you can see, I have this thing called as history. If I expand this view of history, I'm gonna see all the historical sales data for the products that are belonging to vendor 10. If you want, you can remove the vendor 10 from the filters here. Just deselect the vendor and you can see all the products in your entire company, right? But for the purpose of this demo, we are gonna select the vendor 10. And here I just wanted to show that on a week basis, week wise, you can see the historical sales, whatever sales history is kept inside your Odoo. So the system is gonna pick from your sales data and display it here in this table, right? Let's minimize this now and move on to the main table. And this is the right side of the table is the forecasting data. So in the center table, I have the select column, the serial number, the product name, the override run rate, and product category, the name of the vendor, which is vendor 10 in our case, and the total lead time. In case it is there inside your Odoo for every product, it will pull from the system, else it's going to be empty. And the last 4-week average, the last 4 week selling average for this product based on your sales history inside Odoo. The product ID of this product in your Odoo, and the SKU number in case there is a SKU number set. Again, the most relevant columns for us for the forecasting purpose is the override run rate and the product name, of course. So how is the override run rate calculated? Override run rate is nothing but the last 4-week average. The only difference is this is a non-editable column, the last 4-week average. It's non-editable, but the override run rate, it's an editable column. So let's say the system calculated the last 4-week average of this product as a 0.75, which is going to round off to either 0 or 1 and put it in the override run rate. Now override run rate cannot have a 0 value, so it's going to have 1 minimum. And if you wanted, you could always change it to, let's say, 2. It's all going to be whole numbers only. So let's continue to the next part of the video. We discussed that override run rate is an editable field. It will be by default the copy of the last 4-week average, but you could change it. Now, since the center table is clear, let's move on to the forecasting table. Just one more thing, you can change the color of a record. Like, let's say I want to work on this record, for example. Let's say this record, Taylor V2 model 22. But I might get lost in the all the horizontal vertical scrolling and all, so I could just click on the PID column, the product ID column, and it would show me an option to change colors. So I could just pick any color that I want, which will be easier for me to work on this row. So that's a color thing. And on the right hand side of the table in January, because current month is January 2026, so first column that we see is opening stock, which is nothing but the quantity in hand, which is there in the Odoo. Whatever is in the quantity in hand for this product in Odoo, that is what is being shown here. The demand total is the forecasted demand for the remaining days in the month of Jan, based on the formulation, depending on the override run rate, which is 3 here, and the seasonality and the buffer, which has been set for January. And supply is the purchase order, which is confirmed and which is going to arrive somewhere in January in a future date. Like, the timestamp for the expected arrival has to be greater than the timestamp which is right now, and then only that purchase order will be considered. So let's say if I change, so basically the entire thing that this software lets you do is to simulate the inventory, like how the inventory is going to play out. For example, it's showing you what do you have in hand right now, what's the forecasted demand or the forecasted sales for this month of Jan, and how much you are going to get in stock from your purchase orders. And then depending on this, it just simulates the entire flow. Like in the month of Feb, the stock might look like this, the demand total would look like this, and the supply is zero or whatever is the purchase order. And similarly, it would go till, like, whatever month has been selected. Right now, I have selected the month of March. So it is showing me in the month of March, like what should be the forecasted supply column, which means like how much of this quantity should I order so that I don't run out of stock in the month of March. So, like, right now it's showing me zero. That means it's saying that whatever purchase orders and demand total you're playing with, you shouldn't have to order right now anything. It should all work fine. But let's say if I change my override run rate from 3 to say 7 and click and enter, you see the numbers have changed now. This number, the demand total number, has changed. Let's say this is 32 right now, and if I change the 7 to 8, just to show you, the 32 has changed to 37 because it is dependent on the override run rate, and the supply remains constant because it is just what the value is in the PO, the confirmed PO. And similarly, the other numbers also jump and change. And finally, you see here the forecasted supply, which was zero before, now it shows 35, which means that in the month of March, we are expecting a demand total for 35, but the supply is zero, and hence you should create an RFQ today if you want and order 35 units of this item somewhere supposed to come in the month of March. That is the whole idea or the agenda behind the software. Now, let's say you do the whole exercise for all the products here for, say, vendor 10, and once you have done everything, the software lets you create an RFQ. Right now, this is disabled because no product have been selected. But if I do select all or whichever product I want to select, I can select even those products. And if I click on create RFQ, it will show me a message that order or purchase order 216, an RFQ has been created inside your Odoo with all these products. Of course, like for whichever product the value is zero in the forecasted column, they won't be part of the RFQ because that just means you don't need to order them. But for any product for whom the forecasted value is a positive number, that would be part of the RFQ. So if we go back here and if you just do a refresh, I think you could see here 216, which was created right now with for the vendor 10, and all the products and the quantity that has been forecasted. Now it's up to you as a user. If you want, you can convert it into a confirmed purchase order or edit stuff here, but basically it allows you to like work with bulk products people having a lot of products and they have to create an RFQ or a purchase order for a vendor.